Hey y'all, so this video is all about Unity 6. What is it? Why should you care? I know that this released a few months ago in October as of the release of this video, but I've just received quite a few questions about clarifying what exactly is new in Unity 6, how does it matter, what's the upgrade process like, etc. So what I'm going to do is just walk through the blog post announcement that walks through some of the high level details. And instead of having to dive into each video or watch a 15-minute video on each topic, I'm just going to talk high level about what each one is so that you get a really good overview. All right, so first things first, what is it like to upgrade to Unity 6 from 22.3 or other versions of Unity? I have found anecdotally that it is extraordinarily painless, and that in the release schedule that Unity talked through at Unite, the release schedule cadence is getting much faster as far as releases within Unity 6 as the new named LTS version, I suppose. So you can expect updates coming weeks at a time, and every update there's a big focus on not breaking an upgrade chain. So the idea is if you upgrade to Unity 6 and then you keep getting all of the new updates that are being pushed and the bug fixes and whatnot, then it won't cause any issues, or at least that's the goal, right? So getting onto 6 I've found to be easy, and staying on the most recent iteration of 6 I've found to be easy. Ideally, whenever new features release with a larger like 6.1 or something like that in the future, it will be as seamless. So I have found no issue there and really enjoyed the process. And I've had many people tell me quite literally upgrading to 6 saved them a few frames just from the upgrade itself. So that's pretty awesome. So let's dive into this. There's a bunch of stuff that we could cover. I'm, again, a technical artist, so I focus on things from that lens. I'll also call out when I've done videos on specific pieces here, just like the very first thing that we're going to cover. So I do have a video out on the GPU resident drawer, GPU occlusion culling, and spatial temporal post-processing. If you're not familiar with these, the GPU resident drawer effectively makes extremely good use of using instances across your scene. So if you have 100 models in your scene, each one is a custom mesh that's been custom modeled. This isn't really a solution that you want to dive deep into, but if you have a fence that's made of 100 instance pieces of fence all the way around your perimeter, this will save you a ton. So the GPU resident drawer allows you to do a lot of this computation on GPU, which then enables the technology of leveraging the GPU occlusion culler. So using GPU occlusion culling essentially allows you to occlude based on what the camera cannot see through. So if you're standing in a doorway and you have a pole right in front of you and you have 100 instanced rubber duckies behind that pole, it's going to intelligently occlude those and take them off of needing to be rendered. That does work in addition to things like the native frustum culling and things like that are just built into Unity. And then lastly, STP. The core thing here is I think of it almost like a DLSS or something. Like it's an AI upscaler that you can effectively leverage to render at a percentage of the resolution and then get that through AI upscaled back to that 1.0 resolution, whatever that is. So if I want to render it 25%, then I can do that and I'll get the savings, and then it will use AI to upscale that back to 100% as far as what my player is seeing on the back end. There's some really good improvements to render graph. There's also split graphics jobs for DirectX 12, which allows multi-threading the processing of graphics commands, boosting performance, etc. If you haven't seen the Fantasy Kingdom demo, I would check it out. I don't want to eat up multiple minutes of this video on that, but give it a look. It goes through these different functionalities. Then we have a bunch of multiplayer game creation, which I focus more on the industry segment, so I don't use a ton of multiplayer game creation tools. But just to cover it at a high level, there's a new multiplayer center, which will be kind of your hub where you'll create. You can specify what types of multiplayer games you're going to be making, what types of output devices you need to hit to, and then it will recommend what you need to have inside of your scene, and you can create and manage a lot of your multiplayer scene pieces and parts inside of this hub. You also have the multiplayer widgets that are pre-assembled UI, small, configurable, and customizable templates that let you add multiplayer features like lobby, voice chat, etc. Multiplayer play mode, so you can launch multiple independent lightweight editor processes from the same asset on the disk. You also have play mode scenarios, which allow you to configure deployment steps, including the build of your dedicated server and its upload straight to your multiplayer hosting servers. Distributed authority is another cool multiplayer tech, but distributed authority in netcode for game objects is scalable, and it manages client ownership and enables advanced latency strategies for scaling. For this one, the demo that I would recommend checking out is this Megacity Metro demo that they have listed here. This will walk you through kind of what these features start to look like in a large-scale environment with a lot of people playing. Expanded platform reach. So Unity for web is a pretty cool thing. Unity Web was a new topic that was covered at Unite. Instead of calling it Unity WebGL or whatnot, there are so many different techs beyond just WebGL that Unity is focusing a lot on. So a lot of things just about a focusing and a prioritizing of Unity Web and Web for mobile and things like that. So a lot more support and features being added there. Multi-platform features, so build profiles are probably the biggest thing here, so that you can create a bunch of build profiles that you want to export builds to. So if you have 10 different Android devices you want to build to, you can have 10 different profiles. Or if you have an iOS, an Android, Windows, a Linux build, whatever, then you can have all of these different profiles and push out accordingly through there. This is where I get the most excited, being the engaging visuals. So adaptive probe volumes is another thing that I've done a video on, as well as scenario blending down here. So effectively, adaptive probe volumes are a much more intelligently placed network of what you can think of as light probes, if you've used light probe groups, across an environment. So you can specify if you want it to be in a volume, across world space, or whatnot. And it will automatically lay out probes and try to cluster them where it's most relevant in your scene, where you have the most geometry, the most items that are being rendered, etc. Then you can use things like scenario blending and sky occlusion. So scenario blending, you can effectively bake lighting scenarios, and then using C# you can blend between them. And Unity's new light baking architecture now is focusing a lot more on lower memory GPU devices, so you can do a lot more with a lot less hardware. VFX graph, there's quality of life updates, there's some new features and functionality there. Shader graphs UI canvas target allows UI artists to craft custom UI widgets, things like that. HDRP has a bunch of enhancements to environment effects. Ray tracing API, but things like realistic water, hair, skin rendering, all of that you can see really well inside of the Time Ghost demo. So check out that demo if you're interested in learning more. If you haven't seen it, I would watch it just to grab a bucket of popcorn and enjoy a few minutes of your life and see the coolest, latest tech in real-time rendering. So that is a fully real-time demo. Runtime AI is really interesting. So all of this pulls back into what's called Centis, and Centis is effectively a way to embed an AI model. So if you have a large language model that you get from something like Hugging Face or otherwise, you can then, through the ONNX file type or architecture, you can pull that in and embed it within a Unity runtime, so that you have the processing of a neural network, a machine learning environment happening locally on your device, which is pretty awesome. Here it's mentioning things like in-game mechanics, so evaluating player motion and things of that nature. You can do interactive conversations with AI, all again locally. Here's some game effects and new types of animations and rendering techniques leveraging this. I know some of the AI, I believe, in Time Ghost was using this specific system to figure out how to blend between all of the different layers of cloth as it deformed when the player was moving around the scene. And then some other things like game effects and whatnot here. So if you want to dig more into AI, specifically at runtime, look at Sentis, Sentis. One that I'll call out too that I have multiple videos on that's not necessarily Unity 6, but I liken it to be similar to Sentis is Muse. So Unity Muse, essentially where Sentis is the runtime AI model. You then have Muse, which is the creator, editor time AI models. And these are generally things like texture generation, animation generation, C# creation based on text to C#, things like that. And here it mentions that the Unity 6 memory profiler breaks down your graphics memory by resource, which is really helpful. We also have a lot in the realm of UI Toolkit in Unity 6. So for those of you that have not used it and you're used to UGUI, Canvas style UI, that's still in Unity. UI Toolkit is what I use more so for things like screen space rendering UI elements inside of like a tablet app or something like that. And I really use this a lot because it leans more heavily into something like a web developer's experience. So if you have things like flex systems that automatically replace buttons inside of your window, it has a lot of pre-built kind of templatized UI elements like buttons and sliders and things like that. And a lot of it just gets back into what you would think of if you've ever been a front-end web dev. Here's a call out to different training modules and whatnot. So just as a reminder, you have things like this YouTube channel that I post to all the time. You have Unity Learn, which is the free Unity learning resource. Has a ton of stuff out there. Here it's specifically calling out all of these different ebooks that Unity publishes on different topics. And then also if you're in Unity Industry, which is the Unity version that I typically work in, since I work in industries like automotive, manufacturing, retail, etc., with 3D visualization, Industry comes with another tier of training content called on-demand training. And we'll skip through all that stuff and wrap it up here just to keep this as concise as possible. I hope that was really helpful. There's also a talk that Unity has given on what's happening beyond Unity 6. I would be happy to go in and do a video on that as well. Try to keep it at 10 minutes, show a few snippets of what they were looking at. But I hope that this has been helpful. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next one.